I'd try this a new way. I'm gonna show you the tricks that I know. I'm getting tired of talking, and I need more of a show right now. It's time that you made your mind up, 'cause lately all it ever does is change. Feels like we're only talking, going round and around, back around. I will fight like no other every day. I won't stop like the others. I will stay. 'Cause now is the right time, and I'm feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I know I can win right now. You got me on tonight, 'cause loving you is like I'm walking a tightrope so high. I hope we turn it around. No, I hope we turn it around. It's the right time. You feeling alright? I'm playing your game like I will win tonight. I think I'll do it on my way. I'm gonna show you what I'm going through, get you out of your comfort zone, 'cause I need more of the truth right now. It's time that you made your mind up, 'cause lately all it ever does is change. Feels like we're only talking, going round and around, back around. I will fight like no other every day. I won't stop like the others. I will stay. 'Cause now is the right time, and I'm feeling alright. I'm playing your game like I know I can win right now. You got me on tonight, 'cause loving you is like I'm walking a tightrope so high.
Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to the race reaction for the Austrian Grand Prix. Full stop, I cannot put into words just how excited I am to finally be able to say the words race reaction. But what a race to react to. I'm going to say it for the first one and for the first one only. Spoiler alert, this is obviously a race reaction, so I'm going to spoil the entire race for you. But my word. Wow, Valtteri Bottas, absolute masterclass. Charles Leclerc on the podium, I'd never have believed that. And Lando Ruddy Norris takes third place. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Where are you? All of you yesterday in the comment section on the qualifying review race look ahead thing telling me it was going to be boring. Come on, let's be having you. Not good enough. I am going to be joined by John T. Stewart and I think Dan. He's not in waiting at the moment, but he might turn up for some reaction. Gonna need as many people as we can get in this one, I think. Absolutely. Oh, wow. I can't stop saying wow. Let's take a moment. Let's take a moment and have a look at the result. I'll put my reporter reader newsy dude on for a moment. The race result for the Austrian Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas, fantastic drive to take the victory. The pressure he must have been under with all those safety cars. Absolutely brilliant. 2.7 seconds clear of Charles Leclerc, as I've already said, and Lando Norris on the podium. Wow. Lewis Hamilton, not a good day all round. Penalties for him constantly. So yes, we will be we're talking about that loads, I'm sure. Carlos Sainz in 5th, Sergio Perez in 6th. He got a penalty as well that dropped him down to 6th place. What a move from Lando Norris. An aggressive move up the inside of turn 3. Pierre Gasly, the highest finisher, as somebody pointed out either in the chat or on Twitter, of all the Honda runners. Odds on that before the weekend started. So Pierre Gasly 7th for Alpha Tauri. Esteban Ocon in 8th place for Renault, which I think is probably, with the greatest of respect to him, more than his weekend deserves. He didn't have a good day yesterday, did he at all? Antonio Giovinazzi, 2 points on the board, already better than last year. Great news for Gio. Sebastian Vettel, spun. Ovs. In 10th place, Nicholas Latifi. So close to a point on his Williams debut in 11th. Daniel Kvyat 12th and Alexander Albon. Oh, bless him. 13th place. Your retirements list. This does need a big breath. Raikkonen. His wheel fell off. George Russell had a mechanical problem. Romain Grosjean and Kevin Magnussen both had brake issues. Scary one for Magnussen. Actually, could have been a lot worse. Lance Stroll had a sensor issue and an engine issue, or two combined. Not good for him. So he DNF. Daniel Ricciardo, I believe, had a cooling issue. And Max Verstappen, I've not seen what the actual full reason was, but he retired because his car was basically stuttering. It was going into anti-stall and coming out of anti-stall and all of that. And yeah, the huge. But I'm going to leave that result there for you. Just while I introduce my wonderful guest. Did I turn off push to talk? Yes, I did. Wow, Sean, this is going so smoothly. A very good afternoon. I think he's going to be buzzing. Good afternoon to Stuart. He better be buzzing.
Hello. What a way to start off the year. Formula One is back.
Formula One is well back. I mean, absolutely incredible. Were you part of the brigade that were a bit doom and gloom yesterday after qualifying, or were you, let's just wait and see?
No, not at all. I mean, I know we had sort of Mercedes at the top there, but it was looking like a hell of a battle for the midfield at the least. And we know those guys are hungry as F2 racers. So even if, Hamilton and Bottas disappeared, we'd still have some fun on the Austrian mountains. And it proved to be even more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies, by the way, if anyone could hear my PC fan in the background. My word, I can hear it over my headphones, and these are noise cancelling. Christ. And a very good afternoon as well. Have you recovered yet, mate? Good afternoon, John T.
I'm not sure. So when the lights went out at the start, I was literally shaking. It's been that long.
Been far too long, hasn't it? Worth the wait, though, I think is a fair point.
Definitely. I mean, have we ever had a first race that good?
Leave that with me. I'll get back to you. I'll have a ponder. Good afternoon to Dan. Racing's back, but there's probably a little bit of him that's grumpy because not a good day for Rogro. But overall, mate, are you happy? Good afternoon.
What an amazing race that was. I mean, God, 217 days, worth the wait. I'd happily wait that time again. An absolute belter. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great for Grosjean, and, we can skip over that if you want for the rest of the stream, but yeah, absolutely loved it.
Well, we'll get on to all the drama and whatnot in a moment, but we've got to start with that man on screen now, Valtteri Bottas. I'm not going to start the thing, the whole 3.0, 2.0, 10.0 thing. But a superb drive, Stuart. I mean, he controlled that race. And as I said when I was going through the result, the pressure he must have been under with safety car after safety car, a six-time world champion bearing down on you who's, not happy. He wants to go for that move and it wants more engine power and getting constant messages. Pooped myself when I heard Valtteri, it's James, by the way. But constant messages to stay off the curbs. But he just stayed so cool, as Finns tend to, and just dominated that race. Even though it was only 2.7 second gap to Leclerc, that was a pretty dominant performance.
Very, very impressive. Kept his cool, kept the speed up. We weren't entirely sure what exactly was happening between those two Mercedes and just how fragile they were, but he didn't look rattled at all, did he? Hamilton was sitting behind him in DRS zone for quite a while, especially during the first half of that race, and he kept it together. Didn't seem worried at all.
He just, I don't know. I don't know what I expected. I thought, yesterday that my money after qualifying would still have gone on Hamilton for the win. I just felt like he would kind of just have a bit more in the race, but I can't get over how cool that performance was. And maybe, Sky keep talking about this new partner he's got and he's settled down a bit more from last year, but it's quite difficult with Bottas, I'll be honest, Jonty, to get overexcited because we've been here before, haven't we, with great starts to the season. But you can't take anything away from that performance. And if he can perform half as well as that in the next few races and maybe take advantage of that slow start from Lewis Hamilton, he could give us that title fight we're all so desperate to see from Bottas.
There's no way you can argue this. Would you say this is a contender for Bottas's best race? He was completely untouchable. He disappeared at the start, controlled all the restarts perfectly. I'm absolutely blown away by this. I mean, he was good when we had the whole Valtteri 2.0 start of the year, but this is another level. This is the best chance he's got.
I think Russia a couple of years ago was really good for Bottas, wasn't it? And actually, to be honest, 2018 when, the team orders came in, he dominated that weekend off the top of my head. So, but I think this is one of his best drives, definitely. Just superb. But it's a track he enjoys as well, isn't it, Dan? That's the thing. And kind of write Bottas off at your peril in Austria, I suppose, is the warning there.
Definitely. I mean, he always seems to run well here, but also, I think we shouldn't forget that Hamilton did have quite a few issues yesterday and today. I mean, the gap in qualifying between the pair of them was so close. I mean, was it 100th? I mean, that's as close as you want to get. So certainly next week, I'm not expecting Bottas to run away with it quite as easy as he did today, but let that take nothing away from today's performance. Was so good. Didn't put a foot wrong. And considering he was probably getting a little bit stressed thanks to those issues with the gearbox and power unit, faultless this weekend. Great job.
Do you think, is it too early to that whole false dawn thing again, Dan? Is it too early to talk about him as a title contender? Because as fans, if this is going to be a season of Mercedes domination, if that pace that we saw in qualifying and continued for a lot of the race is actually their pace for this season, we need him up there fighting Lewis Hamilton, don't we?
Yeah, and I mean, he's got a 13-point gap lead now over Hamilton already. So even, and this is a strange thing to say, but if he just finishes second at every race, he's going to be right in the mix already. So I think certainly he can give the fight to Hamilton this year. I think Mercedes do look to be a class above the rest, and hopefully, if there's updates for a few different cars later on, maybe other teams can get involved. But I think Valtteri's learnt over the last couple of years, and today's performance proves that certainly he can mix it up with Lewis.
Is it Carola or Corolla in chat saying too early to talk title? I tend to agree, but the problem is, Stuart, and this is the weird position we're in, we don't know how many races we're going to have this season. It could be 8, it could be 18.
Yeah, and this is something I've sort of been talking about for quite a while now, since we sort of went into this period of uncertainties. I mean, you're absolutely right. If it's 8, if it ends up being 8 and we have to stop at the end of April, at the end of the European leg for whatever reason, Bottas has just won 1/8 of the races with quite a few of his close competition having a terrible weekend. So, every race at the moment is pretty precious because we're not entirely sure how long this is going to go on for and how much each one is worth. And yeah, I mean, this is something I'm sure we'll go on to, but you can't be having a bad weekend right now. It really will come back to bite you.
It's this is it. I think that was touched on with Sky afterwards, that it is only one race, but like Dan said, 13-point lead, that could be huge going forward. So it's superb, absolutely superb. I've been really impressed with him this weekend. I know I get some stick for giving him too much stick, but it's only because I want to see him do well. I'm desperate for him to deliver, so I do give him probably a bit more stick than I should do. But Charles Leclerc, second place, John T. If I'd have said that to you this morning, you'd have driven to Lincoln and you'd have slapped me. There's no way you'd have believed that for a second after Ferrari's showing yesterday. Luck's played a part in that, obviously, but he's kept his cool and he's delivered a very good drive there in a car that is massively off the pace, really.
Well, you can't deny that. You look at all the onboards we kept seeing, and that thing is a dog. It understeers and oversteers, and it seems very draggy. So it was a stunning drive. There was some great moves from him as well. Not just, making the easy moves, that he really had to fight some, especially the McLarens. Absolutely fantastic drive. And yeah, if you'd said there had been a Ferrari on the podium this morning, I'd have been checking your medication.
I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't have believed it. I mean, they were atrocious yesterday, and I did wonder if, because people are saying, oh, they're still sandbagging. I don't know why you'd be sandbagging in qualify for the first race of the season, but I did expect to see more from them in the race, and they did look better than they did in qualifying. Couldn't have looked much worse, but I just. That fight in particular keeps cropping up in my head between him and Perez. Was it Perez on the opening lap with Leclerc? Just a superb battle. And I think if he can extract that from a car like that, okay, again, I'll say it for those that will point it out, got a bit lucky or got very lucky with everything going on. If he can extract that from that car, I don't want to make the comparison, Dan. That's the kind of stuff Fernando Alonso was doing in 2012. John, to use the term dog of a car, that's how we all like to think of the 2012 Ferrari. So, I'm not saying he's going to be fighting for the title, but if he can drag that car to top end results, he might be the one that saves Ferrari's season, especially if Seb is going to spend any more time spinning.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because at the beginning of the weekend, it seemed that it was Seb, the one who was fired up and really ready to have one final great season at Ferrari. But qualifying, Leclerc just seemed to have the edge. And today, like Jonty said, some awesome fights, some awesome moves, and didn't really put a foot wrong. And considering next season he's going to be the team leader, which is quite an ask considering it's only going to be his fourth year of Formula One. I mean, I'm not worried at all now after today's performance. The fifth fastest car, I think we'll all pretty much agree with.
Yeah.
Yesterday, maybe a push. Today, probably still not quick enough to be on the podium, but made the most of those mistakes and issues with other cars. At least reliability was good from Ferrari's side, and strategy actually seemed okay. That's something which we don't usually say with Ferrari, but Leclerc's drive, I think, will probably go under the radar a little bit with Norris's podium, but deserves just as much praise, if not more. Really, really strong drive today.
Yeah, we'll get to Lando in a minute. But I can't stop grinning every time I say it. I think it's such a great story. That's three. Again, I'm not getting into it, but that's two podiums from three races for McLaren if we go back to last season. So are they back? Scary stuff. I can't really fault Leclerc. Unless if any of you guys, Stuart or Jonty, if you've got something that I've missed on Leclerc that was shockingly bad today, please do let me know. But I think Stuart, is he their best hope this year? Really, it just felt. I know it's only the first race, but Seb, although good at the start of the weekend, I wonder if he's already checking out a little bit. I'd be out of that car. I'd have been out of that car after qualifying and gone back to my family and gone for retirement.
I'm not ready to write off Vettel yet. He had a worse weekend on paper than he should have done. That spin was his fault, but it kind of. He would have been higher up if he hadn't made that mistake. But, Leclerc didn't make that mistake. Leclerc kept his head down and just sort of got on with it and picked up the points he could, which is kind of what you had to do in this race. There was just so many retirements. And I think Ferrari have got to, thank someone for the gift of this weekend, because they have started the season off like way beyond the back foot. And if they can get some upgrades in, maybe a little bit, probably not next weekend, but soon enough. I can't remember when their scheduled engine upgrade is. And it actually does give them sort of more relative performance that we've seen the last few years, then they'll be very grateful for the 19 points they got this weekend. But yeah, Leclerc, can't really fault him really. Did he deserve second? Yes, probably, because his car didn't fall apart and he didn't make a mistake. He was there to take the points that were needed.
Are you ready, chat? First time this season. He was lucky, but you've got to be there to take advantage of the luck when it falls your way. First one this season. I want people counting how many times I say that. Yeah, absolutely. A couple of people in chat talk about Albon and Hamilton. We'll do the top three as we tend to do, and then we'll talk about some of the other big incidents from the race. And I will do super chats as well very shortly. But nearly 4,500 people watching. So if you are new, please do hit that subscribe button and please do drop a like on the stream as well. Let's try and get a good like count for the first race this season. What a race! Oh my god! And on that note, Lando flipping Norris as if. On the podium, wow. I mean, that closing few laps was about as I mean, I was literally on my feet for that final lap. It was one of the most... It's what Formula One's about for me. The underdog, that can they do it? That you've got to deliver this lap. You've got to do it now and right to the wire. And I sat in my chair and I'm watching it and I'm going, oh, yeah, can he do it? Probably not. 5.5 seconds, bit much to ask for on the final lap. Going to need the lap of his life. And then coming around the final, sort of the penultimate corner, I think Crofty said something in commentary like, I think they're going to be okay, referring to the Mercedes. And then that little graphic came up at the top left of the screen, which was perfect, by the way, from FOM, that was giving the countdown of the gap. And I just looked and I went, I don't know, Crofty. And then I stood up and it was 5.4, 5.3, 5.2, 5.1, 5, 4, 9. And I just absolutely exploded as he went across the line. And I'm not a fanboy of anybody. I love seeing underdogs do so well. But Norris is such a lovely lad as well. It was just, what a moment, Dan. I cannot. It was a proper yes from me when he crossed that line. And I've not done that for years.
All the UK did that, mate. Don't worry. I mean, that reminded me of being a kid, actually, just screaming when Button got that first win. But, didn't he deserve it today? All the way through, really had to fight for it. I mean, got a little bit lucky starting third, but did a great job yesterday qualifying fourth, and was fighting Verstappen on the opening lap. I was screaming at that. I couldn't believe it. Last year he was fighting with Hamilton on the opening lap. This year fighting for second, and it didn't quite go his way. Dropped back a little bit, but the race pace of that McLaren wasn't dreadful. Wasn't too bad, and I think he went a little bit too early at one stage trying to pass Perez, and Leclerc was able to overtake him. But like you say, when that Hamilton penalty popped up, and I think everyone was watching the timing beam, and when they went over the line, they took it away for a minute, and everyone was thinking, oh my God, has he done it? And nothing against Lewis Hamilton, but I think a lot of people were hoping McLaren, considering taking away their podium last year, considering the last couple of years they've had, what a brilliant start to the season. And a little bit like with Leclerc, knowing Leclerc is going to have to be the team leader next year, Norris is in the exact same boat. And what a drive. I mean, his best qualifying in F1, his best race in F1 as well. And considering last year, all the issues he had, reliability, mistakes, what a way to start the season. And like you say, mate, what a lovely lad to get his first podium in F1.
Just a great story. And like I say, 2 podiums from the last 3 races for McLaren. So on the up. But they were quite sceptical, weren't they, Jonty, about their race pace? They thought they'd be behind Racing Point. So to land a podium, I know because of Hamilton's penalty, we'll get onto that in a moment. And obviously Perez, he passed Perez on track, to be fair, but would have looked into Perez's penalty too had he been behind him. But yeah, I think McLaren were probably more surprised than us as fans watching on by that result.
Yeah, what were you saying about that? To benefit from the look line?
Yeah,
you've got
exactly.
to be there. But I mean, I was slightly harsh on him on social media, I must admit, because that last lap was absolutely outstanding. And you've got to think that there was a lot of nail biting going on the pit wall, because they probably got on the radio and said, look, Lando, max engine mode, just cane it. You can get a podium here, which would have been very, very worrying with the way everyone's engines have been behaving. I would have been absolutely crapping it on the pit wall in that situation. But he got it done. He had to do it when it mattered, and he did. And it's a brilliant way to silence any critics he's had. And just, well, look at how he drank the champagne. That's peak Lando, and we love it.
But on that lap was epic. You're so right. But just on that lap, Hamilton's fastest lap of the race was a 1:07.7. Bottas was a 1:07.6. On that final lap, Lando Norris did a 1:07.4, 2/10 quicker than the fastest lap by a Mercedes that was all conquering going into this race. I mean, that is how much he put on the line. And chances are he's probably going to retire next Sunday with an engine failure because he's absolutely ragged that car, but he won't care. That's a podium. That is an incredible lap, fastest lap as well. So he gets that bonus point, Stuart. And like I keep saying, it just couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, could it? Such a lovely lad. So down to earth as well.
It's a great personality. A lot of these young, sort of the newest generation are really great personalities. Like I really love hearing from them and seeing interviews and hearing them chat with each other. They're really sort of switched on. And yeah, Norris, I mean, he had to take it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Nothing against Leclerc, but Leclerc just sort of had to just keep pushing on, and it came to him. Whereas Norris had to take it. He had to take that fourth place in qualifying. Granted, he got given one place more. He had to take the podium today. He fought for all it was worth and got absolutely everything out of that McLaren. I'm very excited to see what they as a team can do for the rest of the however long the season is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like you say there, he's got to take that opportunity because that chance for a podium might not come up again this season. So, you know, I don't want to jinx him, but if he does have a reliability problem next weekend, he got the podium when the opportunity was there. So, great as well. I don't think we should skip over just on McLaren. Carlos Sainz 5th place. That's still a very good result. And if that's roughly where McLaren are, then they're in for a very, very good season. Second in the Constructors' Championship. It's been a while since we've seen that. But we'll get on to this then. Kind of the reason why. In some ways, the opportunity, or exactly why the opportunity fell to Lando Norris for that podium. Lewis Hamilton and Alex Albon. Now, I watched this live, obviously, and every single replay they did, and I've watched some stuff afterwards as well. There is some controversy on social media. There are some people who think that Alex Albon had enough space on the left to avoid that contact. And whilst when you look at the shot, sort of the long shot, you can see there is space, absolutely space, for Alex Albon to run into. But Alex is on the racing line, and if you actually go on board with Lewis, he's just understeered into him. So it's not, in that situation, Alex Albon's ahead. For me, it's not up to him to hop out the way, but equally, Lewis Hamilton hasn't deliberately put him off the road. He's understeered into. So even if Alex Albon runs into that space, chances are Hamilton might still hit him anyway. So I'll upset Lewis fans with this one, but I think that penalty is fair. I do feel a little bit for Lewis because it is just that he's lost the car, a bit of oversteer rather. I think it was oversteer. Yeah, oversteering the car. So you know, this kind of thing can happen to anybody. Some might say you could have called it a racing incident. Not really for me because you've compromised another guy's race. It is just a mistake, to be fair, Stuart. But ultimately, if you mistake or not are not in control of your car and you compromise somebody else's race, a guy that could have gone for the win on those soft tyres, let's be honest, you've got to take some kind of penalty for that.
Kind of, I've been looking, I looked at quite a lot of replays and I looked at some of the GIFs that were just sort of replaying different angles of that incident. And I'm sort of more towards the middle than you are. I'm in the position where I'm like, I'm fine with the penalty he got. And I think I would have been fine if he hadn't got a penalty as well. And, you know, Albon was absolutely ahead of Hamilton at the point where contact occurred. I think if I'm going to come to bat for the Hamilton side for a sec, Albon wasn't ahead of him when they went into the corner. He did an amazing move around the outside. And I think sort of at the midpoint of the corner, Hamilton had sort of committed to what he was going to do in the corner, and backing out of that is a little bit harder than if Albon was ahead going into the corner and Lewis was expecting him to be there. On the other hand, Albon did dominate that corner and was sort of entitled to sort of complete his line. And I know Lewis wouldn't have wanted to like put his foot on the brakes mid corner. And there's an argument, should he have? I lean a little bit towards racing incident, but obviously I feel massively for Albon, who I honestly think could have gone on to win that race. He had more pace than the Mercedes, especially as the Mercedes were were nervous about the state of their cars and couldn't maximize the track width. And he definitely didn't deserve to be punted off. So I'm okay with the penalty. I think it's it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. I don't think it's completely cut and dried. And I know, some people have strong opinions on both sides of it. And I think it was a bold move by Albon, and he should have been able to pull it off.
Yeah, I mean, they gave Lewis the smallest penalty they could, didn't they? So maybe the stewards think, we've got to give him something, but we're not going to slap him with a stop go or anything stupid like that. I just think I don't want to put the comparison in completely different situations, but like the stewards' reasoning behind the Vettel penalty in Canada last year, they said he's not in control of that car, and understeer, oversteer, whichever, he's not in control of the car at that point, and he's hit Albon and kind of compromised his race. I don't know if you agree, Jonty, but one thing I would say, kind of before I come to you, is, and I think the point was made by Martin Brundle in commentary, Albon maybe just needs to be a little bit more patient. He had the better, softer, quicker tyres on. As Stuart said, and I agree, I think he could have gone for the win. And Mercedes were having to kind of nurse their cars a little bit, and he would have been told that. So he could have been a little bit more patient and maybe waited for, the straight down to turn 1 or the run up to turn 3.
I think that's the main point that I just can't understand from Albon. Or maybe it can. It's a lack of experience. You wouldn't see an experienced driver going for that move. He had brand new softs on. You've got the Mercedes. He will know the Mercedes are nursing a problem. There's absolutely no need for him to go for that move. None at all. He would have walked past Lewis on the run up to turn 1 on the next time around. Now, after looking at a few more angles and replays, I'm going to agree the penalty was fair-ish. But there's also things we constantly hear about the stewards and from race control that they're not supposed to account for the result of a contact. It's just the incident itself. Even if they had touched, Albon had run off a bit, gone onto the gravel, but come back on and stayed ahead, they still would have been looking at the incident. As it is, Albon went all the way to the back. But, I feel like there's still some inconsistencies in the stewarding across the board. And it's difficult. But a lot of people are making the wrong statements about it, saying Lewis could have just braked. Well, no. You suddenly brake like that in a corner when everyone's closed up after a safety car restart. He's going to cause a massive pile-up. It's not that cut and dried. So, yes, it was fair, but it was of Albon's making.
I love the fact we all disagree. I love that. I think that penalty is justified. I'll get the stick for that in the comments. Chat are very divided, as you can imagine, but I'll come to you, Dan. Save me. No. What's your take on that? I mean, I totally understand the points that Jonty Stewart are making, but I can't, in that situation, if Albon had done that to Hamilton, and I'm not saying Jonty and Stewart would be, but the world would be screaming for a penalty for Albon.
I do think it's a penalty. I think we're all agreeing in the sense that Hamilton certainly didn't mean to do that. Hamilton would never have wanted the contact. I think looking at F2 this morning and the Grand Prix itself, plenty of drivers tried to go around the outside on that corner, but like Jonty said, Albon had the fresh tyres, so I don't think Hamilton was quite expecting Albon to get such a good run as he did. I think Albon was enough ahead. I mean, Hamilton's front tyres hits Albon's rear tyre, and Albon had got a great run through the corner. So I don't think you can put any blame on the door of Albon. Yes, it's a bit of an unorthodox place to overtake, and Jonty's right in the sense that he could have overtaken Hamilton easily. There's 3 DRS zones. I mean, it wouldn't have been particularly difficult, but I do think I think a penalty was needed, and 5 seconds, maybe it's a little harsh, but considering he still finished 4th, I am on the fence, but I do think it was a penalty.
You're not on the fence then?
Yeah, but I
love you, mate. I really do.
Leave me alone. If it wasn't a penalty, I wouldn't have been angry. But even though it is a penalty, I'm okay with it. Yeah. So leave me alone.
I don't think anybody's saying Lewis has done that deliberately, so I need to pick you up on that point, exactly what you said, Dan, because that's not intentional. See, I think 5 seconds is about right. I think it's a fair penalty, and it's not, like I say, he's not turned deliberately to wipe out Alexander Albon. He's out of control. That sounds crazy, doesn't it? Like he's coming all swapped up and sideways and flying through the air. But I mean, just a bit of understeer, oversteer, and he's just gone into the side of him. It happens in racing. That's part of it. It was a risky move from Alex Albon, and although I've said myself that he could have waited for DRS, at the same time, I'd much rather see Alexander Albon go for that around the outside and take a chance and give us an epic overtake than wait for DRS. But at the same time, kind of contradicting myself, I think he does need to just be a little bit more patient in that situation. That said, I say more patient. Brazil, he was on the outside and Hamilton threw up the inside, so he wasn't really impatient there, was he? Because he was the car in front. But yeah, my personal take is it's a penalty for Hamilton, and it's a justified penalty. But at the same time, it's not something he's done deliberately, so I don't think it should be causing the fuss that it is. It's 5 seconds. He's still finished 4th. I still think, even with Bottas winning this first race, he's probably still going to win the championship, so it's not going to destroy his season. But it's not the great start that he'll have wanted, of course, but I get the points made by chat and by you guys as well, but that's a penalty for me. If any of you want to come back at me with that one, bring it. No, I'm joking. You can do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that it's Albon's fault, chat. I'm just saying that going for that move when he had Hamilton in his pocket anytime he wanted instead of a risky place is inexperienced. He put himself where he could have been hit. That's all. The penalty was fair.
I'll take a slightly different take, just to keep it spicy. No, I would say I think there are a handful of laps left, and Albon knew at that point that he was faster than Hamilton, and he doesn't necessarily know that when tires warm up or whatever in a few corners or half a lap's time, that he still would, be with him. Like on lap 1, when we saw Lando was actually hassling Verstappen for most of the first lap and then disappeared. I think there is an element where you're like, as a racing driver, well, I've definitely got an opportunity now. I might not have an opportunity later. I'm going to take it. And I think some drivers like Verstappen would also have done that. Round the outside of that corner is always going to be a tricky one because it's downhill and it's fast and everything. I think it's a tricky one, but they're world-class races.
Yeah, it was a British, unconventional overtaking place as well. I was looking at chat, sort of having a conversation there, talking about it. So it's an ambitious move, but go for it. Oh, it's only the first race as well, but pretty much a disaster all round for Red Bull today. Max Verstappen, I still thought Lewis would have enough for the win today prior to his grid penalty. But with when Max Verstappen was still lining up third, I felt like he was a dark horse for the race because he could go long on those medium tyres. I think how he got through qualifying yesterday on them is beyond me. I think he needs a lot more praise for that than he's been getting. That was a hell of an achievement with the gaps being so small throughout the field. So I think huge credit to him there. But I'm just gutted that we didn't get to see what he could have done on that alternate strategy. We'll kind of never know now, unless, of course, we see it next weekend. But if you're just wondering what happened to Max Verstappen, I don't know if you guys can fill me in on this one, but I've not seen any confirmation as to what it was specifically, but on board it was very much, he said the anti-stall kept kicking in, so he's sort of trying to get the car going. He's bump starting the car down the straight, and he's trying to get the car going, and anti-stall kept kicking in, and the car was coming back and then kicking in again, and it just frustrating for him, Stuart. And he was the big hope, wasn't he, for a lot of neutrals this weekend to be able to take the fight to Mercedes.
Yeah. What can you even say? It was all looking very, very spicy, wasn't it? Well, until how many laps in? How many laps did we last?
12, I think he did. After 7 months away.
Yeah, I mean, goodness me, right down the field, we've got to ask some questions about what they were doing with their 7 months. Yeah, I mean, we didn't know quite how mad this race was going to get, but at the beginning, it certainly looked like Max and that Red Bull, the only person in the top 10 on the alternate strategy was well, it was a mystery, wasn't it? We will never know what happened. It's going to be it was starting to look like it could be a thing because he's done it before. He's done that longer strategy here and made it work, and he wasn't falling back. He didn't have the pace of Bottas, but he wasn't exactly like in a different time zone or anything. And it was that probably the biggest disappointment of the race was that. Luckily, we got some other things to talk about.
Yeah, some other stuff happened. It wasn't all bad for us as fans, obviously, but yeah, a bit gutted for Max. I'll obviously update you over on social media if we see or if we hear anything as to what the problem was specifically. I don't know if Red Bull will tell us, but we'll see next weekend. Obviously, if we get some rain, which is forecast for next weekend, that could play into Red Bull's hands quite nicely. But yeah, disappointing for Max. Not like Stuart said, not really a lot to say on that one from my point of view. Really, I just 12 laps after 7 months away. You know, it's frustrating to retire anyway, but just imagine that. Imagine that. 7 months with no racing, you're 12 laps in and your car breaks down. I mean, that's just heartbreak for poor Max Verstappen. Absolute heartbreak for him. Who else we got to talk about? What other incidents? I mean, I don't know where to start, really. On everything else that happened, it was insane. Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean, scary moments, Dan, for Haas, particularly Magnussen's accident could have been a hell of a lot worse, but brake failure on both cars. So they've not sorted that problem out from last season, have they? But Magnussen was been overtaken, and then kind of the brakes just didn't work and ended up in a spin, didn't he, at turn 3? But like I said, that could have been a lot worse than it actually was.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the one thing you don't want to break on your car is the brakes. And I'm sure that's going to be a huge headache heading into next weekend, because it wasn't as even that we were that late on in the Grand Prix. It was about halfway. So that's quite alarming. Maybe in cooler temperatures next weekend, if it's raining, could be a different story. But I'm kind of gutted for K-Mag because he made a brilliant start. Not brilliant yesterday, out in Q1, but was up to 13th. And scrapping away with the Alpha Tauris in front of Esteban Ocon. And the car wasn't looking good, but today in race trim, it wasn't too bad. Grosjean side of things, that was rubbish. That was an awful performance. I mean, the black and white flag was coming out because he was cutting the corners like he's on the F1 game. What an absolute joker. I mean, yeah, not happy with that, I think you can tell. But K-Mag, super, super unlucky. And the whole Haas team, when you look at the fact that Williams almost nicked a point today, Alpha Tauri got 7th with Gasly, not a great start for them whatsoever.
No, and they need to get that brake issue sorted, because when we get to some tracks, it could be a lot more dangerous than it is in Austria, and that was bad enough. But yeah, I feel for Haas. I really hope they got their stuff together for this year. But first race, they might do. Obviously, still a long way to go, but there's no updates coming for that car to start with. Which is quite worrying. But yeah, Sergio Perez and Racing Point. Big hope for them coming into this weekend, Jonty. And the pace just, it wasn't awful in the race, but it wasn't maybe me and other people on social media and the media have been kind of hyping them up a bit too much, but that pace wasn't what I was expecting in the Grand Prix, although Perez was running third for a fair while. But I think Perez is probably going to be one of the most frustrated drivers out there, because his penalty was for speeding in the pit lane. That's a rookie mistake, isn't it, really? So I bet he is so angry about that. You know, if you're going to get a penalty, make it worth your while.
Yeah, speeding in the pit lane is always going to be very frustrating. That's basic day one stuff. But the reliability certainly isn't there, is it?
No.
Poor old Lance. That was very surprising. And all through the opening few laps, it could well just be the, now not as common oil overfill, but it was still a bit concerning. I really didn't like seeing that. And you're right, the race pace, while still good, while still significantly above, Alpha Tauri and Renault and probably Ferrari, it's not the massive jump that everyone's been hyping. Little bit. I wouldn't say it's concerning on the pace front. They've just got to make sure they get that reliability sorted, because it's cost them a lot of points today. They could have easily been both in the top 6.
Yeah, because Lance was looking okay, wasn't he? And then obviously reliability issues kicked in, and that cost him his pace. But I'm just looking at the timings there, Jonty. That penalty, because he was passed by Sainz and Norris anyway, it didn't actually cost him a place in the end, so he would have been P6. So maybe that might help the frustration a little bit. But yeah, I still think I expected more from Perez. It was my one to watch. But at the end of the day, I mean, 6th place isn't a horrific result at all, is it? Considering the reliability.
No, not at all. I think another thing that may have stung Perez a little bit, he didn't get to pull his party piece. We had the staccato incidents of, safety cars spread out by, a few laps across the end when Checo's trick is making tyres magically last forever. He didn't get the opportunity to do that and make the ground because of it, which is a bit of a shame. Maybe we'll get better next week.
Yeah, and again, back to the forecast, says it's going to rain. Lance Stroll could grab a podium. We know what he can do with cold tyres. We know what he can do in the wet. So watch out for Lance Stroll next week. Maybe grab his 2nd career podium. Who knows? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm so glad they're back at the Red Bull Ring next week. It's ridiculous. I'm so happy. Good race for Pierre Gasly Stewart. He kind of, another one that flew under the radar a little bit. In 7th place, kind of, I guess, in the same vein as Leclerc. Took advantage of the luck and everything that was going on when it fell his way. Kept his head down and got on with it. So, good result. And I think that's a strong start for AlphaTauri. I really do, because they looked okay, 12th and 13th in qualifying. They kind of said, both drivers afterwards, that was their pace, so they weren't particularly excited about things. So to grab those, 6 points, I think is a very good start in what's going to be an incredibly tight fight between them and potentially Haas and Alfa Romeo and all that lot.
Yeah, I think it's good they, as you say, I just thought of another case of grabbing what you can from this strange opening race. But, finished ahead of a Renault, which is good because the Renaults looked kind of okay today. Actually, they're kind of sort of similar paced. We'll be interested to see how much the AlphaTauris can stay with the development race this year. I know it's a bit of a funny year with how much you're allowed to develop, and some of the top teams have already got a sort of schedule lined up. But yeah, I think they'll be glad to have these points in the bag, and good that it's Gasly too, because I think we've spoken a lot about Gasly since he was shunted down to the junior team, even though it's technically not a junior team anymore. And nice to see him getting the results. But again, yeah, didn't really see much of him. He just sort of, was there and driving at a good pace and got rewarded for it.
Highest finishing Honda driver.
Oh God, yeah.
Helmut Marko right now sweating. Obviously, I'm pretty sure Red Bull will be quicker there. Esteban Ocon, Stuart, I'll stay with you. Weird weekend, 14th in qualifying. Maybe first weekend back after so long away, just generally, obviously missing last season, maybe take him a little while to get up to speed. But 14th in qualifying, he was disappointed. I think there's more pace in that Renault. But again, 8th place, given everything that was going on and his lack of pace in qualifying, that's not actually a bad result for Esteban, but I was hoping to see a little bit more from him, and probably specifically Renault this weekend. I really do think, obviously Ricciardo's issues saw him retire, but I really do think there was more pace in that car than we saw in qualifying.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there's definitely more in Ocon as well. And again, the good thing is we get to do it all over again, so we could see maybe a little bit more, dig deeper into the truth of what both the pace of the driver and the car is. But yeah, I was surprised to see Ocon go out so early in qualifying. But again, first race back, we've been a long time off the track for a lot of these drivers. We're not sort of 3 weeks away from testing or anything. So yeah, I do expect more. But again, it demonstrates just how close this midfield is. I think we've got a sort of McLaren, what are they called now? Racing Point, just at sort of the top of that midfield, and then, but not too far behind, we got this Toro Rossi. Oh my God, it's a nightmare.
Toro Rossi.
AlphaTauri, Renault, and well, we'll have to see what Alfa Romeo are up to. But yeah, I do expect to see more of them in the coming races, and I can't. It's going to be very hard to predict how that midfield's going to shake out.
Toro Rossi, that's fantastic. Oh dear, you're never living that one down. That's you for the season. Alfa Romeo, generally speaking. A couple of points for Antonio Giovinazzi, Dan. Big step forward on where he was this time last year, of course. But Kimi, bit of a terrifying moment. If you didn't see it live, it'll probably in the highlights, I'd imagine. Came through the penultimate corner and his wheel fell off. Just at the safety car restart, bouncing across the track. Not brilliant, and I've not seen if that was any kind of failure, but if that was a pit stop mistake, that's a grid drop for the next race, Dan. So scary moment, but not, a couple of points for Giovinazzi kind of saves that weekend for Alfa because they were pretty poor yesterday, and another team with a Ferrari power unit that struggled in qualifying.
Yeah, well, it's nice to see that Alfa Romeo are taking some pit stop lessons from Haas. It's nice to see that the tyres stayed on Haas today. But yeah, it was a difficult weekend for Alfa Romeo. They're another team that I didn't think came with any upgrades this weekend, and I'm not too sure if they are over the next couple of weekends. So it's not looking great already. Yesterday, being out-qualified, both of them by George Russell, was a big surprise. Race pace didn't look much better, to be totally honest. And again, George Russell was beating both of them in the Grand Prix before Russell retired. So a lot of work to do. But for Giovinazzi, well, for the most part, a clean weekend. I think he had a bit of an off in Q1, didn't he? But apart from that, kept his nose clean during the Grand Prix. A nice little battle with his teammate early stages. Couple of points. I think just proving that he's definitely made progress from where he was, not only at the beginning of last year, but the progress he made from that summer break last season. He's carried it over to this season. And like you say, that midfield is so tight. Any points are going to be key. And 2 points beating Sebastian Vettel, I'm sure he'll be very happy with that one.
Yeah, like I say, kind of better than it was from him last week, wasn't it? Last season. Took him a while to get that first point. So to get those couple of points on the board is huge for him. And that's kind of what I wanted from... That's why I was quite excited to see Albon looking good for that podium, because I just feel like he needs, or it'd be good for him to get that first podium nice and early this season, so that pressure just lifts off him a little bit. We'll see. I'm a bit concerned about Alpha, but obviously that incident with Kimi Räikkönen was quite scary. I'm just checking Twitter. I don't know, Jonty, if you've read anything on whether that was a failure or whether it was a pit stop mistake.
I haven't seen anything. It looks very much like your standard loose wheel. I'm just wondering of whether it would have worked loose whilst trundling around behind the safety car or not. Would it have waited for getting up to speed? I really can't tell. But it was a very scary incident, especially with the speed you saw it take off towards the barriers. Good job we didn't have crowds in. Imagine if that had bounced over.
Was it? Yeah. I think I said that in commentary, didn't it? It's kind of almost a relief there weren't any cars, weren't any fans there, because that could have been horrible. Bounce back across the track, didn't it? So that could have been even worse if that had hit another car. So, yeah.
Yeah. But then we get into the whole regulation side of it. The sad thing is, they frequently go with things like grid penalties and what have you when it's really not the driver's fault. I hope it's the team penalised and not the driver, because otherwise it would be really unfair.
Yeah. But then there's the old argument, Jonty. You win as a team and you lose as a team. No, I kind of agree. We had it in Germany, didn't we, last year, didn't we? Was it last year with Leclerc? Team got the penalty and everyone was like, whoa, I think not. Didn't get out very well, did it? At all, really, in the end. Sebastian Vettel, 10th place. Didn't cover himself in glory this afternoon at all. Did he really? I mean, that spin with Sainz, it was a bit of a wild move, or a silly move. Sainz was busy scrapping with somebody else, and Vettel's just kind of seen that gap there, gone for it, which, racing driver, gap, blah, blah, blah. No big surprise to see him do it, but it was very late, it was very wild, and a little bit of contact with, Sky loved the irony, his replacement for next season, straight into a spin. I mean, it's just another mistake, isn't it?
Yeah, and the worst thing about that is that I'm sure you were the same, but we were all, oh no, don't, no, oh Seb,
Yeah.
You could see it coming a mile off. That gap opened up because they were both fighting and slower than usual through the corner. It was, like watching something happen in slow motion. It's just like, oh, for God's sake. I really want him to do well, to hit back at all the critics and the way Ferrari have treated him, and then he does that. It's just like, oh. And he sounded so despondent on the radio, as if he really didn't want to be there. I'm not sure if he can drag himself up from this.
Interesting to see if that car doesn't improve in Hungary if he decides to stick around or not. I will say that. I don't know. He's quite a professional, isn't he, Seb? He'll probably want to see the season out because he's got a contract with Ferrari. He still, despite everything, he still loves that team. There's no doubt. That's where his hero won all those titles. So we'll see. I mean, I hope the updates are good for them in Hungary, definitely. But we talk about Albon having to be patient, Dan. You know, I feel weird levelling that at a 4-time world champion. You know, Vettel should have been a bit more patient in that situation. But I guess, and this is a criticism that's been put to him before, he's not out of position, but he's not leading the race. He's not in a comfortable position. He's having to push that car that little bit harder and take those extra risks, and he's just making too many mistakes with it.
Yeah, and I think what's disappointing as well is up to that stage, he was actually having quite a good race. I mean, started outside the top 10, so was on that alternate strategy. And you just think to yourself, with all those retirements, he would have been helped out massively with some of those safety cars. It's just a big disappointment because it could have been a huge haul of points. Could have maybe a bit of a push, but maybe could have even been a podium with all the guys dropping out like they did. And I think, like Jonty says, you're kind of thinking, oh, Seb, not again. He's a 4-time world champion. He shouldn't be doing his Spinellas, as they're now called. I mean, the fact that people call it a Spinella, and he's a great driver, but these mistakes shouldn't be happening. And yes, you know, there's always going to be an argument. They could be a little bit rusty in their first race back. It's been over 200 days. He's not been on the sim like a couple of the other drivers have, or the virtual GPs. But when it comes down to it, that was kind of a rookie error. And for someone like Latifi, if they'd maybe done that, you could maybe give him a bit of leeway. But for Seb, and I think Carlos was fighting Leclerc as well. So to even be anywhere near a mistake near your teammate is also worrying. So yeah, very disappointing weekend for Seb.
Absolutely. A couple of other drivers incidents worth a mention, really. Scary moment for Daniel Kvyat. Something, was it a puncture or failed at the back of his car? Back left Stewart. That was a horrible moment. That made a noise on board, didn't it? But good job to get that car out of the way, to be fair. Could have been another safety car right towards the end, which could have actually cost a few people some results. But yeah, I think, is that a result of the curbs, do you think? Because a lot of drivers were being told to stay off them throughout the weekend.
I mean, it might be. It's hard to. We didn't see any like replays or anything that showed anything else. It's hard. I'm sure we'll get a statement from the team or from Prielli at some point. But yeah, scary moment. Quite glad it was happening all by himself and not while he was sending one up the inside or something. That could have been a lot worse. But luckily it happened. Yeah, sort of just the top of the hill, and he just parked it immediately. Pretty good car control. It's just part of a series of what on earth is going on. The car's just like dying on track. But yeah, very disappointing for him because he could have had some nice result otherwise.
Yeah, a couple of things from chat. Somebody just saying, a couple of people saying actually, that it was contact with Ocon that caused that failure for Kvyat. So,
okay.
That would explain that one. Somebody saying double standards as well, because we said be patient for Albon and be patient for Vettel. That's I said, if we're going to say be patient about Albon, then we need to be saying be patient about Vettel. But just to clarify that point. Nicholas Latifi. Oh, what a story it would have been, Jonty, if Williams could have grabbed a point and McLaren got a podium. It would have been fantastic, wouldn't it? Disappointing for George, obviously, with that mechanical issue. He was really good this weekend, so close to getting out of Q1, was racing well, running 12th at one point, so could have been on for points with everything that went on ahead of him. But I think for a first weekend, I think Latifi's done better than some people are saying. He was a way off his teammate in qualifying. He was still plumb last, but he had that crash in FP3, which obviously didn't exactly cover himself in glory with, but, you know, it happens. And I think a good race, again, staying out of trouble, getting that car to the end, 11th place. I don't expect him to set the world alight this season, but that's a solid start.
Yeah, I mean, well, just look at the race as a whole. Getting to the end wasn't a mean achievement. You know, cars breaking all over the place and incidents, and he has done really well. That's exactly what he did. Exactly what he needs to do right now: get miles on the board, get comfortable in the car. Then he can start pushing for the time to catch up to George. And as you said, George was phenomenal. I'm not sure how much the brake issues for Haas will have been helping
Helping?
him. But he was, he was ahead of 1 or 2 Haas right at the start, on raw pace. You can't sniff at that. Things have changed at Williams and changed for the better. Let's just hope it carries on.
Williams in general look better this weekend, has to be said, compared to where they were a year ago. So that'd be a huge step in the right direction for them. I'm going to put you all on the spot now for 2 things. First of all, and this can go to chat as well, what have I missed? Because I feel like I've missed something. And if anybody could tell me, that would be absolutely great, because I didn't make notes because I'm a fool. I didn't expect it to be that good, so I didn't have a pen.
What else was there?
It feels like there was more, doesn't there?
Unsafe release.
Yes, yeah.
Rating point against McLaren. Wow, that was close. They were so close to hitting Haas engineers. That definitely. I didn't see any penalty come from that, and I'm sure that warranted one.
I think he's got away with that because he kept it in the middle lane. I really do. I think that's because he's not forced Lando to brake. He's probably got away with that one.
Yeah, I can see that, but it's because it's not the widest of pit lanes. It was so tight on that replay.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking, trying to think back to any kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, comparative incident from the past that we can sort of look at. But yeah, it's not the widest pit lane. You're right. You wouldn't try it in Monaco, would you? Not at all. But I think he's got away with that because he was stayed in the middle lane. So lucky, maybe another weekend that does go against him. But this time he got a penalty anyway, then didn't he, Checo? So not really a matter. A couple of saying Daniel Ricciardo. We did talk about Daniel Ricciardo. He, more pace in the Renault, we feel, definitely. So frustrating. And I tinfoil hats on, peeps. I wonder if this is the first sign of things not going very well for Ricciardo this year. Let's leave it at that one. Annette's going to kill me. She's going to kill me for that. She's a big Ricciardo fan. They did show sights on camera, we saw a lot of sights today. I think that by the end of the season, we'll be sick of the sight of them if they carry on like that. So yeah, we did actually talk about sights a little bit earlier as well, briefly. Just talk about a very good drive once again to 10th place. Is there anything you want to add on Carlos Sainz, Dan?
Not particularly. It was just a classic Carlos Sainz race, wasn't it? Started 8th, finished 5th, kept out of trouble for the most part. I mean, almost overtook Norris. That was a great little fight between those two at the end for those 2 laps. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat, really just saying, boys, don't hit each other. There's a podium on the cards here. And at that time, I think we knew Hamilton had the 5 seconds. And I'm thinking, no, just let one of them go. You might be able to get a podium. And Norris just was able to fend him off. But that was a great scrap between the 2 of them. But yes, Sainz, just another really solid drive. And I don't think the fact that he's going to Ferrari is going to affect his driving whatsoever this year. So McLaren looking good. Great start to the year.
Yeah, a couple just talking about Perez and Lando Norris's move on Perez. A bit of contact there. That was all right, wasn't it, Stuart? It was aggressive from both. Perez turning in and Lando going for an aggressive move, but bang of the wheels. It's not really all that different to what we saw last year for the win.
Yeah, no, quite. I mean, you've got to allow yourself a little bit of, especially wheel-to-wheel contact or side-to-side contact, when it's just a little bit of bump. That's going to happen. It's that. Well, as we saw with Albon and Hamilton, when the front of the car catches the back of the car, then you start to get a rotation come in, and that's when you start to get problems. But that was fine. That's all par for the course, as long as it's not too aggressive.
Yeah, I agree. I've lost what I needed to have open for this next part, which is annoying. So bear with me a second. I'm going to do super chats. Loads have come in tonight, so thank you very much. And then what we'll do is we'll do driver of the day. So I'll give you 3 an opportunity to think. Not too much, but be ready. I will come to you really quickly to catch you all out. So get thinking, chat, as well. I don't know if this is all of them because it's quite frustrating. Streamlabs is not updating properly again. It might be my software, so I might have to have a look at that. But I'll try and get all of them. If I don't, then apologies. Let's have a look. So Arzar says, what are the rules around Merc fixing their critical gearboxes before next weekend? Do they have 5 races left? Don't they have 5 races left? I have no. I know you can't. Yeah, it's 6 race weekends for a gearbox, so they might not be able to change the whole thing, but they might be able to do repairs on it, Jonty, unless I'm mistaken. But that's an interesting point for next weekend, is Merc's reliability.
Oh yeah, exactly. Because they were. I don't know how much of that was for the benefit of the other teams, because you know what they're like. They'll try and play down some things or play up some things to make them think something different. But it sounded very panicked. And if that's gearbox, like you say, they may well have to take a new one, which is instant 5 places.
They used the word critical, didn't they? More than a couple of times. So
yeah, not just using the word critical, getting James on the radio to say this is critical. That's when you know something. That's when you know it's really mean it. So next week's going to be really interesting.
Well, yeah, because like Stuart kept sort of was saying before in the look ahead that we did last Sunday, it's an opportunity because we're kind of sat here going, what does this mean? What could they have done differently? And next weekend, we're going to find out, because they have the opportunity to rectify the things they perhaps did wrong or could have done better. So it's going to be, I'm looking forward to it. I do hope for rain next week, by the way, or something different. I still think, controversial opinion, they've missed a trick by not doing reverse grid quali, to be honest. That's just my view, because I think it would have, imagine but then again, actually having said that, Max Verstappen starts on pole for reverse grid quali, wouldn't he? So, yeah, maybe not, but I don't know.
Unless you do top 10 reverse, then it's Vettel on pole.
Oh, God, yeah, that'd be brilliant. Even better. A Ferrari win a podium in the weekend.
Yeah, looking at how this race went, though, I think it's good that we're not doing that, because 4 races, but with those curbs battering the cars, we wouldn't have anyone finishing.
And it's a win for nobody this afternoon. Zach B, Albon probably would have won with the softs. Also great to be back. And I love you, Stuart. Aww. I think he meant Sean. He spelt Sean wrong there, but it's fine. I'll read it as Stuart.
Yeah, your name's hard to spell. People always spell it wrong.
I think he spelt yours wrong, to be fair. Anyway, Anthony Bell, good afternoon. Ant says, conserve for Vettel, battling Kvyat and Latifi for P10. This sounds stupid, but just testing how to donate, says Robbie. So you did all right, Robbie. It worked. No worries. Elliot, Austria was Lewis's least successful track. 2014 to 2019. There you go. Big Mother says, what do you guys think about the We Race as One Pride Rainbow, given the context of countries like Russia and Bahrain, assuming we race there in 2020? That's not a can of worms I want to open on a race reaction stream, but I think it would be nice from a personal perspective if Formula One would at least review the countries they go to, or look a little bit deeper into some of the stuff going on there, if they want us all to be racing as one. So that's all I'll say on that one. I've done ours. Kieran, who do we think is the third team after today? Very quickly, Dan, third team after today?
As in race pace, like pecking order?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I think Racing Point looks strong today.
Jonty?
It's close between Racing Point and McLaren, but I think Racing Point have just got it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think Racing Point do have the edge. That it is on a wider point down the whole field. Actually, it's interesting the difference we've seen between qualifying and race pace. That the grid did not pan out into race pace that we saw. But I think Racing Point, third best team.
Yeah, that was from Kieran. I think Racing Point at the moment, but I think if the season's long enough, I think McLaren will be there. But Ferrari updates in Hungary, things could change very quickly. So it's good to be talking about who's third, actually, rather than who's just best of the rest. So that's nice. Jack, you did miss a stream, mate. And the race. You've missed a hell of a race. What a race to miss. You've had 7 months to get ready. Annette, I've been trying not to put my tinfoil hat on. Thank you very much, Annette. The Butler says Hamilton under investigation for not slowing under double yellows under Albon's retirement. And Black Hawk says Red Bull Racing getting stewards to reverse decisions pre-race. Kind of put those two together, actually. Thank you very much to Black Hawk as the Butler as well. And thank you to all of you for your contributions and subscriptions today. Lots of people watching. I always enjoy the first reaction of the season because we tend to get lots of people in. So thank you for coming along. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new and all that jazz, as the YouTubers tell you to do. subscribe to the YouTube and all of that business. But it's a great point. Really weird timing, Stuart, with the Red Bull appeal. They didn't appeal last night. They started the weekend by going, oh no, we don't want to kind of ask about DAS because we don't want it to put a dampener on the weekend. We don't want to be asking questions around sessions and all of this. And then an hour before the race, they're launching a protest against Mercedes. Really odd timing on that one. But if you know your car's poor, you've got to take every advantage you can.
Yeah, they are running to teach her a lot, aren't they, already? It's is that a sign of concern within the team? They're just not fast enough? We'll see. Well, they haven't got any points yet. Yeah, it was weird. I find there are two things. So the main point they were making was that the stewards didn't have the 360-degree onboard thing on Hamilton's car to review when they did it last night. So the first point is they should have made sure they had it when they were doing the review. Stewards are often said they've got access to all the cameras plus the CCTV and so on. But the second point on that is we all saw the onboard 360-degree thing last night because F1 tweeted it. So we saw it. I don't understand how this went down like this. I think it needs to be said. I think it was legitimate. I think Red Bull had a point. I think the way it all went down was quite ridiculous, and the fact that we were probably a good half an hour when Red Bull was setting up to second place on the grid without any announcement from the stewards was bizarre.
Just looked up my TV. Sky are showing a replay of the 2020 Austrian Grand Prix. Screw the stream. Let's go. No, I'm joking. Let's do it. Let's do a post watch along. Yeah, it was weird. I mean, like I say, I should clarify. When I say poor car, Red Bull don't have a poor car, but compared to where I think they expect it to be, you're going to take every opportunity when it comes. But like you say, that we had that footage last night, and it was pretty damning. To be honest, I watched that footage and I was like, yeah, it's a penalty. That's a penalty. He's not slowed down on the double wave yellows, and that board is there whether there's dust or not. The rules are the rules, aren't they? So yeah, it's a little bit frustrating that it came so close to the race. But and I'm people in chat saying, I've missed him. Where is he? I can't see your name. Sorry, but just saying that the new evidence came to light. Well, like you said, Stuart, we had this last night, and you always hear from the stewards, we've got all the angles, we'll be able to make a decision, and then they don't have all the angles, and we get them. And yeah, was it Formula One's admin on Twitter that did a little edit where they pause it at the point where the yellow flag is and zoom in? It's like, oh, you snitches.
Yeah, yeah. And someone in the chat making a valid point, which is true, that 360 cameras, and some of the cameras actually are not, the stewards can't instantly get hold of them. They have to physically get them from the cars and download them. But if you've got this thing to investigate, then surely you just make sure that happens. No, it's just weird.
It was a penalty as well, I think, with the rules that are there. So
it was a penalty.
Yeah, definitely. But like you say, they had it last night. Why wait till this morning?
Makes more headlines, bit more attention, unsettle them right before the race, maybe.
Yeah, but the problem is, how do you get around it? I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, they should have a set amount of time where they can put a protest in," but that's not going to work because you could have someone do something ridiculously cheating, and then it's not protested to the next day, where they just turn around and go, that was yesterday, you're not allowed to do that anymore. So that would make a mockery of the whole system. So it's very difficult to get around, but again, very, very weird.
I'm going to read Robbie's super chat. If Red Bull can be closer to Merc with strategy, etc., and put them under pressure, forcing them to push, will we see Merc DNFs? I mean, if they've got to push next weekend, with everything that's going on this weekend with their reliability and the curbs and whatnot, then yeah, we could see some DNFs. And I'm big question marks, not just F1, Dan, but F2 as well, about the reliability of these cars. As Stuart touched on earlier, what have they been doing for 7 months? It's terrible.
Yeah, especially F2 as well. I mean, that was bizarre in itself. Every couple of laps, there was another one going, and we saw the exact same thing in F1. And usually, we don't see that kind of thing in Austria, yet alone the first race of the season when they're all brand spanking new. So, yeah, next week, that's going to be a really interesting one to see, because it's very unlikely teams are going to be able to make any real changes to their power units. So we could see a similar kind of story next week, which will, from a fan point of view, from a neutral point of view, is going to be very fun indeed.
So this weekend, we have had controversy, great racing, politics, penalties. Is there anything missing from an F1 weekend that we all love about this sport? It's as if they've gone, we'll give them everything in one weekend. They've waited long enough. Absolutely. What a weekend, start to finish. Getting an email through with a protest launched by Red Bull. I'm smiling, not because I don't like Mercedes, but it's just like, I have missed this so much. I have missed this so much. It's brilliant. Right, first time this season, chat, one surname. Oh, God. Sorry, mods. Who is your driver of the day? I'm gonna go alphabetically again, just because it really annoys Dan. Apart from Grosjean, of course, who is your driver of the day, Dan?
I'd love to give it to Lando, but I think Charles today, that was a great drive. It's going to go under the radar because he's in a Ferrari, and it's not a brilliant story in terms of a surprise podium, but when you look at the pace they really do have this season, that's a mega surprise that they're anywhere near a podium. Great drive. So yeah, Charles Leclerc for me.
Anybody watching and looking at that chat, I will not read all of those, don't worry. John T, your driver of the day, sir.
So they're trying to decide between Leclerc and Norris. So I'm going to throw a surprise to you and say Bottas. He met Hamilton on equal ground and beat him. Fair and square. You can't argue with that.
Damn. I thought I was going to be the one of us two to be the nice one to Bottas. No, I'd go Bottas all day long. If Hamilton had driven like that, he'd have got driver of the day. Leclerc, Vettel, anybody like that, I'd have given a driver of the day. Absolutely superb. Not just in the race, all weekend. Absolutely fantastic. And I hope this isn't another... I feel bad saying false dawn because he's still been second in the championship. He was last year, a long way off, but still second in the championship, winning races. Matched Hamilton last year on pole positions. But I'm just hoping he can carry this one on. Definitely. But if you want another pick, it's I've got to say Lando, but it's Bottas for me. Stuart.
Yeah, I was sort of straddling Bottas and Norris. That's an image, isn't it? But I tell you, just to make sure everyone gets a shout out, I'm definitely going to give it to. I'm going to give it to Norris because, yeah, I think he was on it all race long and did exactly what he needed to do to be there to get that podium. And things did fall in his direction a little bit, but he worked really hard to make sure he was there to get it in a weird and crazy race.
Just looking, apparently I've missed a super chat from someone from earlier in the stream. Just scrolling through. So, that's annoying. The thing hasn't updated. Who was it that said that? I'm going to have to go and find your name now. If you could just let me know if it was you that sent that super chat and just ask a question again. Don't do it as another super chat. Just do it as one in chat. I will watch chat and I will read your question out that you did because it's not showing up on the Streamlabs thing, which is really annoying. It only goes back, it goes back 7 days ago. Why not? But yeah, if you just pop that in chat again, I'll keep an eye out.
It was Andrew Berend.
There you go. There you go, Andrew. Pop it in chat again and we'll keep an eye out. If you guys could as well, while I just read some of these, that would be very much appreciated. So, very quickly, I'll give you your name if I can read it properly. I'm going to butcher some names. It's been a while. Topi says Bottas. Lawrence says Norris. Jose says Norris. Sam says Lando Norris as well. Lots of Norris ones. Harry says Albon. I think, yeah, he had a good race. He could have won that one. I'm kind of gutted for him. Scott says Lando as well. Cringe Lord says Norris. Lots of Norrises in here. Leclerc says Lightning Geo, which is cool. A big crash says Alfie. The winner. Why not? Leclerc says Warren M. It was a good drive. Real big surprise to see Ferrari on there. Really, really was. Bottas, Norris, Leclerc, lots of the same people. Latifi says David. He did all right, bless him. Annette says Norris. Hassan says Leclerc. Albon for Samir Gaming as well. RC says Norris. Thomas Norris. I'm going to stop reading Norris's because lots of people coming in there with Norris. Just see if there's anybody in there. Again, Jack Chambers says Latifi. Hamilton says Yamato or Yamato. Sainz is a good shout. He had a good race. I don't think he was better than those, than Bottas, Leclerc, and Norris, but still a very, very good performance. Very, very good performance. Just looking for anybody else surprising. Mostly Norris, as you can appreciate, and Leclerc, and lots of Bottas as well. Bottas, I can't get over how good he was. I really, really can't. A couple of people asking, I will say very quickly, about watch-alongs. No watch-alongs for the first part of this season for reasons I'm not going to go into. Hopefully all become clear soon, but I will let you know about the rest of the season later, but nothing for this first 3 races, absolutely 100%. So we'll see. Giovinazzi, says Zane, by the way, and Perez for Sam too. So lots of ones there. Right, have we had that question in? It's kind of difficult to spot it, really.
John T highlighted it, I think, if you look for a John T.
Yeah, you're saying that Lewis deserved a harsher penalty for the Albon incident.
Oh, thank you very much, Andrew, for that one. So, yes, deserved a harsher penalty for the Albon incident. See, I think 5 seconds is about right, but I get the point that it completely ruined Albon's race, didn't it? I mean, it cost him possibly a win and dropped him right down the back of the field. But to me, I don't want to get too into it again, because we talked about it quite a while earlier. I think 5 seconds is about right. I think that's he's out of control of the car, if you like. He's made the mistake. It's cost Albon that chance of a podium and a win, as they just show Max Verstappen slowing down again. Bless him. I think for me, 5 seconds is right, but obviously it's all about opinions. So and we all disagree, which is nice. We don't often disagree because we're all just always right, of course. But yeah. It's Jonty keeps popping in. I don't know if you want to say something, mate.
No, I was just saying, I don't know if you saw on Twitter, someone we have no choice but to take the word of. King Marcus of Ericsson has spoken.
Okay, well, here we go then.
And he puts it racing incident.
Never liked him. Fair enough. That's up to King Marcus. Yeah. Anyway, a couple of questions from chat. We've got time for a couple of questions, and then we'll wrap things up. So, will we ever see the return of marbles on Fridays? I had this conversation with somebody the other day. I kind of like to, but right now, kind of a bit busy, if I'm being totally honest. Yeah, it'd be nice because it is fun to just chill out. But obviously, with my Friday roundup, everything with qualifying, the preview, just so much going on. Not that I'm complaining. I'm not. It has been so hard. I'm sure everybody will back me up as a creator, but Stuart, Dan, John, it's been so hard to fill the last 7 months with content, hasn't it?
Even just new images and new, it's just
B-roll.
lovely. Yeah, exactly.
Oh God, yeah, we could have so many pictures and things from this race. Incredible. Yeah.
It'd be cool to know, but I'm sure there are people that watch every video on the channel that are kind of like, I'm pretty sure I've seen this footage of Lando Norris before. So, yeah, every video, it's fine. This time I've put it in reverse. Fantastic. But yeah, no, it's a bit busy at the moment. Maybe when things calm down a bit this season, maybe. Should Ferrari regret firing Arriva Bene, says Elliot. What do you reckon, John T? It's not working out. I mean, I like Binotto. I think he's really good for... This will sound awful, but a 21st century Ferrari boss, because he is bothering with social media and the media in general. So I think that's good. But he's not really turned that team around in the way that perhaps Ferrari were expecting after Arriva Bene.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because no one could deny that Binotto, as technical director, was hugely influential in getting Ferrari back up from the downtimes of 2014, 2013. You know, there's no denying that. But the way he's pushed to be team principal after Arriva Bene clearly hasn't worked. I think his own focus has changed. Yeah, he's become a very different person in that role. And as much as a lot of people didn't like Arriva Bene, he was the perfect figurehead for Ferrari. Call it stereotyping if you like, but he fitted the role perfectly. He was like Enzo reborn. Just the whole thing. I loved it when, if there was a question he didn't want to answer, he just suddenly pretended to forget to understand English. It was brilliant, hilarious stuff. And he did a better job at the top. He really did. Although if it was up to me, as much as I really didn't like him, I'd have Domenicali back.
There you go. That answers that one. I like Binotto, but like I think, yeah, he's kind of taken on multiple roles, hasn't he? He's kind of kept his old role to a point, although that might have changed now, but he's also boss of the team. Interesting question here from Chun Lin, which I forgot to mention. Can Bottas get a penalty for early safety car restarts? Today was close. I don't think a penalty, so long as he's within the rules, it's fine. But that safety car restart, he very nearly did catch that safety car, and we never got a replay of that incident, which I might have a look later, as to whether he was past that safety car line before he'd passed the safety car. He obviously was, because the telemetry and all that would have said that he wasn't, and he would have got a penalty. But that was a close one. That was very close, Stuart.
Yeah, I was kind of as surprised as anyone else, but kind of glad the safety car did make it into that pit lane. But I'm sure the drivers have a very good idea of how much time they have based on the part of the track they're on. I'm sure one day we will see something where the drivers do catch up too quickly, and I'd be very interested to see what happens as a result of that. But but fine on the bubble.
Aaron says, do you think Alex Albon could have won today? I think he could have done on those softer tyres, Dan. I got a little bit hyped. Obviously, what happened afterwards was epic, not the incident, but everything that came afterwards, and Norris getting that podium and the surprise for Leclerc and Bottas getting the win. But there was a moment when that safety car came out, he put the softs on where I thought, he's got this.
Yeah, and that second safety car where he quickly overtook Perez before the second or the third safety car came out, that instantly proved that he was going to be quick on those soft tyres. And then he caught Lewis so quick. So, yeah, I think he could have won today. I mean, yeah, it was a great strategy call from Red Bull. But Albon, I think podiums this season will come. Maybe a race win, but yeah, it was possible. That's for sure.
I'm not going to read one question out on this, but a few people have been asking for different drivers. For example, somebody asking about Ricciardo, others asking about Sainz's decision. Do we think, John T., and I know it's only one race, that there are a few drivers who made decisions before the season started who might be thinking now, let's just keep an eye on this. Maybe I should have waited a few months.
Well, I said this about Sainz when it got announced. That resurgence, that momentum that McLaren gained last year, and with the extra things coming in place in the next year or two, I really think he was foolish to leave. And the pace of Ferrari right now, obviously it can change for next year, but it doesn't look good. Put yourself in his shoes. Which outfit would you want to stay at for next year right now?
Based on this weekend, you'd want to stay at McLaren. But obviously, we don't know what Ferrari are going to do in Hungary yet, do we? I mean, they could end up being fastest. So excuse the sigh before I said that word. I'm trying to hype them up a little bit, but they could be fastest after Hungary. They could make big strides. But yeah, I think it's too early after one race is what I'd say to those that are asking those questions. But at the same time, I'd imagine there will have been a moment where Sainz is like, oh, hang on a minute. Or that Ricciardo's gone, oh, maybe I should have signed up for this year. Maybe I shouldn't have made that move to Renault. Maybe I should have come straight to McLaren rather than feeling they weren't right at the time. But that's hindsight. It's 2020, and that's pure speculation, so difficult. But das smack. Excuse my throat. Predictions for next race feels like the kind of perfect way to round this one off. I'll go in reverse alphabetical order. Don't worry, Dan. I'll not scare you this time.
Thank you.
Stuart, your predictions for next weekend.
Well, I think we're still going to see Mercedes at the top, but we've got this interesting situation where there's a lot of fragility, especially around cars with Mercedes powertrains. We're not entirely sure if the cars like Racing Point and Mercedes can get themselves together. So there is room there for Red Bull to come in. I think we're definitely going to see more from Red Bull. I'm going to predict a Verstappen win somehow.
Yeah, I think I agree on Mercedes. I think they are still going to be the team to beat. But my predictions for next week are rain, hopefully, and we'll see another mixed up race, hopefully. And I'm Albon podium is what I'm going to go for next weekend. Winner probably Lewis Hamilton, because he's going to want to prove a point, isn't he, after this weekend? So yeah, Hamilton for the win, Albon on the podium for me.
Hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Red Bull one too.
Ooh.
Go. Ooh.
Might sound extreme, but I don't know, something about this weekend has got me really worried about the overall reliability of the Mercedes package. The fact that it didn't just affect the primary team, it also affected both of the customer teams.
There you go. We'll keep an eye on it. He's probably right. He's right, but I think you predicted fewer than 14 finishes, didn't you, for this race?
Yeah, that was a joke.
Never heard the
He's
end of that
infuriating.
one. It is, isn't it? It's like, oh, God damn it. I make a prediction. Everyone goes, oh, you've jinxed him. Jonty does it. He's right every time. Dan, or more or less every time. Don't put that pressure on him. Dan, your predictions for next weekend, mate?
Mercedes were a bit good this weekend with a bit of rain in the air. Yeah, I'll go with the Hamilton win. Might as well do Mercedes one too. And if there's rain, I mean, bit of carnage. We'll throw Grosjean on the podium.
Oh, sorry, be serious. Sorry.
What are you laughing at? Whoa.
If there's rain, Hamilton's taking it, no question.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Arzar very quickly says, do you reckon Perez was planning a two-stop? I don't. I think he was. I think he would have been okay to get those mediums to the end, in the end, quite easily. How many times did I end there? At least twice. And Lauren says, flying tyres, new tradition at first F1 race. Yes, obviously, as Dan said earlier, Grosjean managed to keep all his tyres on this year, so a big step in the right direction. But we're going to leave it there because we've been going for an F1 word hour. So thank you very much, Dan, for start with you, mate. Coming along. It was a pleasure. But, I mean, it's always great to talk to you, but racing. We got to talk about racing, real racing.
Thanks for having me, mate. I mean, 217 days seems like a lot, but my goodness, was it worth it? So thanks for having me, bud.
You got that written on your hand, 217 days. It's about the 5th time you said it. I will
just
remember
can't
something
believe
today.
it's 200. It's just such a long time. So, yeah, well worth the wait.
Thank you as always, John T. It was good fun to talk to you again, mate. And I guess we do this again next week.
Oh, see, Dan says it's been 217 days. It's been such a long time. We're going to be 8, possibly 9 or more races in before we know it, wondering what the hell happened. Yeah. And it's going to be great.
Now we'll be trying to make content again for the winter.
Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks for coming along, everyone. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. It was 7 away from 1,000 likes. Come on.
Oh, come on. That's got to go over 1,000 likes. That'd be amazing for a live stream. And yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in. It's been good fun. And thank you as well, Stuart, for popping along for some F1 chat. I know we've both been sort of casually DMing. I mean, sliding in your DMs from time to time just to really annoy you. But I think we're both pretty pumped up for this weekend, and it didn't disappoint.
It did not. There was so much to talk about and a lot of on-track action, although no race-ending crashes. So maybe next weekend. Yeah, thanks for having me. Congratulations on crossing into 98k as we spoke over the last 90 minutes.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
how many are still watching that aren't subscribed? Come on, crack on.
Well.
We're nearly there. We're so nearly there. Please.
Cool. And 1k likes now. Well done, everybody. Yep. I will chat to you soon. Thanks for having me.
Lovely. Thank you very much to everybody, and I will talk to you all again soon, I'm sure. But yes, thank you to all those guys. Thank you to you guys too. It's been fantastic. Like Jonty said, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Loads coming up next week again. Obviously, same kind of content that we had over this weekend. Plus, there'll be stuff in the week as well as the always is between race weekends. So yes, please do subscribe if you're interested in listening to us waffle on some nonsense about Formula One, and do drop a like before you disappear. That would be fantastic. But yeah, I will be back. When will I be back? That's a cracking question. I have no idea when I'll be back. So if I don't know, I guess you guys won't know. Apologies to patrons, by the way. I've just seen it. I forgot to update this screen. I will do it before next weekend's reaction. So thank you to everyone who has joined on Patreon. Massively appreciate that. But yes, I'll be back. If not tomorrow, certainly Tuesday with another video. And then we're building up again to the second Austrian Grand Prix, or the Styrian Grand Prix, as it's going to be known. And hopefully we can get a race. Do you know, half as good as that, and I'm happy. Absolutely superb, and so glad to have Formula One back. So like I say, I'll be back later this week with more content. In the meantime, don't forget that you can, of course, follow me over on social media, and as ever, all of the links you need to that are in the description down below. Twitter, if you want to bug me, that's the best place to annoy me, although I will try to do more on Instagram and Facebook over the course of this season too. Take a breath. But as ever, thank you for watching, and hopefully I will catch you again in the next one. Bye-bye.